welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. Well, can you guys believe it? It's already week number 2 for MLS. Super stoked because that means after this weekend's game against LAFC, we'll finally see our boys in blue back at home at Subaru Park. But I'm not only excited for that, I'm super excited to meet you guys at the Sons of Ben tailgate March 14th, our home opener against San Jose. It's going to be a blast, you know. Some of you guys have reached out to me and said, hey, when you're in town and everything, when you're at the game, hit us up. We'd love to put a face to the voice behind the mic. So I'm super excited to meet you guys, hand out some stickers and everything, just get the word out there about the podcast and everything. I know it's, I just can't believe it's there. It's like, I feel like this winter's went by so fast, and like I said, it's already week number 2 in MLS, and I feel like this weekend's going to go by fast and everything, and I'm super excited for it. I can't wait, guys. But I kind of like what I did last episode, which was me opening with the news. So I think I'm going to continue with that. So with that said, let's head straight into the news. So last episode I mentioned, I wonder if Ali Bedoya will still count as a designated player, and Jonathan Tannenwald came in clutch on Twitter over the weekend and announced Bedoya is no longer a designated player with his new deal. According to Jonathan Tannenwald, Bedoya will earn the same amount of money he was earning as a designated player, with half of the contract being paid with TAM money. Now, I'm not going to get into TAM, GAM, JAM, all that, because I don't understand that stuff. I'm sorry for you guys. I'm sure there are some of you out there that understand, you know, the way that MLS works from top to bottom. And I know there's a lot of you guys out there that the only thing I understand is the soccer aspect. And, you know, that's pretty much everything I understand too. So I'm not going to get into talking about TAM and GAM. But I will talk about is SiriusXM FC. They posted a video on February 28th with Ali Bedoya talking about a potential new signing. So what I am going to do, I'm going to play you guys that clip and just give you guys something to think about. What does it sound like Ali Bedoya is saying in this interview?
Philadelphia fans should definitely be excited about 2020 because, well, they finally signed Jamir Montero, right? Yeah, I think he was a big part of our success last season, so that was a good signing. And I can probably guarantee them that there's going to be another signing, right? There has to be, I hope. Good reinforcements. And then, like, the youth that we got, you know,
Aronson,
that's only Aronson, McKenzie, even some of the new guys. Aronson's brother, watch for him too.
Really?
Yeah, Aronson's younger brother. He's a talent. But it's to be a Union fan right now is interesting because they're a testament to what academies and investing in the youth can be.
So before I even talk about what he said earlier, I think that was pretty cool that Ali mentioned Brendan Aronson's younger brother, Paxton. Now, last year we heard Jim Curtin say, you know, that this kid's going to be better than Brendan Aronson. This kid just has that mean grit about him, something that Brendan Aronson kind of lacks and everything. So just hurry up and grow up fast, Paxton, because I'm sure we're all excited to see you hit the field with the Union. But going back to what Bedoya said earlier, he said, you know, I can almost guarantee there's a new player coming in. Or I hope. So the Union announced Ali's deal February 27th. Sirius posted this clip with Ali on February 28th. I don't know when Ali did this interview with Sirius, but I gotta imagine it was before Ali's deal was announced. To me, it sounds like a new designated player is coming in. Now the question becomes, when will that player come in? Will that be in a couple days? Will that be in the summertime? Because I've talked about it before. When is the last time a summer signing has come into MLS and made an immediate impact? I'm still struggling. You know, I said that I feel like about a month ago, and I still can't think about it off the top of my head. Maybe one of you guys know, who've been following MLS for a lot longer than I have. You can tell me a name off the top of your head. But honestly, I feel like it's so rare when a player comes in during the summertime and they just kick the ground running. I'm hoping that there's a new designated player signing that will happen soon. I'm hoping that, we get some news by the time I drop this podcast and everything. Maybe a new signing is going to come in on Friday? Because it seems like the union, every announcement that the union had this offseason, it always happened on a Friday. So will the union announce a new deal on Friday? I don't know. We'll see. I mean, that would be pretty cool because if they do announce a new signing, one, I don't expect that player to play against LAFC on Sunday, but it does mean that if they did sign a player and announce it on Friday, we would definitely get to see that player for the home opener. I mean, maybe not in the starting 11, but on the starting 18. Because with the Olympic qualifiers coming up, I'd imagine Brendan Aronson's going to get caught up for those games, which mean we're short of number 10. I know Jamiro can play there, but Jamiro, in my opinion, he's always seemed more like a number 8 than number 10. Hopefully, we get some news soon. Like I said, maybe it could be Friday. I'm recording this episode on March 3rd, 2020. Oops. But let's just see, what happens, Ali Bedoya, I said on Twitter, please don't tease us and everything. And I feel like he's doing exactly that. But now maybe it's very possible that this video was recorded in January or something. I have no clue. Like I said, I don't know when this interview took place with Ali and SiriusXM. I haven't seen anybody talk about it on Twitter. I'm just hoping that they do sign a number 10 DP or a number 10 period. I mean, because like I said last episode, we really lack creativity. And with now only one designated player on the roster being Jamiro Montero, now we have two open spots. Come on, Jay. Come on, Ernst. I know there's got to be somebody out there, and I know Jay Sugarman's been more than willing, maybe not more than willing. He's talked about it, I feel like, more than he has in the past about money and about this team, about, how they're taking steps forward. So if you don't want to be a small market team, Jay Sugarman, this would be the perfect opportunity to take that next step forward and become a big team market by spending that money and getting a designated player in here to replace Ali Bedoya as the number 2 designated player. But 2 other bits of news. So it is confirmed now that Josef Martinez has torn his ACL, and it's very unlikely, according to doctors, that he will return to Atlanta this season. Huge blow for Atlanta, huge blow for the league. Carlos Vela and Josef Martinez, the 2 most marketable players, I feel like, for MLS. And yeah, it's great. The Union aren't going to face Josef Martinez this year, but still, when we play teams, I want us to play teams when they have their full roster, when they have their full team. I don't want to hear other teams making an excuse. Oh, you beat us because this player didn't play, or you beat us because we only had this amount of rest. Looking at you, Atlanta. So tough blow for the league, tough blow for Atlanta, but we're just going to take care of our business and play against the 11 players on the field whenever we play teams and everything. That's the way I look at it. And the other bit of news is DC United announced the signing of MLS veteran Federico Higuain. It's a good veteran signing, but at his age of 35, I don't expect much of him. Now, I know that they said that they signed him as a developmental coach/player. So I got to imagine, we won't see him in the starting 11 that much. I feel like he'll make the bench every now and then for DC United, but if anything, this is just a veteran signing and everything. There's a guy who DC United feel like they can take a risk on and see what he has left in the tank. I gotta imagine they're not paying an arm and a leg for him, but that's the bit of news that I want to bring up to you guys and tell you guys about. Now, enough of me getting you guys caught up with the latest news you should know about in MLS, because just like last week when I had a guest help break down FC Dallas, I'm joined by another guest this week to help give us insight into LAFC. I'm super excited to have Jerry Jimenez, who is the host of Heart of LAFC podcast. How are you doing today, Jerry?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing excellent. Super excited that we were able to make this work with that 3-hour time difference between us. But why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, how the podcast got started?
Sure. Yeah. So we've been covering LAFC now for about going on 3 years now. We're at about episode 129. So we've been doing it for a little while. Right around episode 8, I believe. I have to go back and check, but I was doing it by myself for a bit. I am, big part of building what the 3252 is now. And I've been there from kind of the beginning. And along with that, I've obviously still have a ton of friends that are a part of that. I am now kind of separated a little bit from the 3252, decided to do the podcast and concentrated on that. But my co-host is Joseph Sacker, who's the first president of the 3252 in the beginning of the kind of creation of what that supporter group is, or I should say the independent union that they are. And so we decided to join forces. We've been doing the Heart of LAFC now, covering LAFC again from the beginning since Seattle and on. So we've been doing it again for about 3 years. We're pretty excited, growing every year. As you know, LAFC gets more and more notoriety as we go. And so it's been a lot of fun, man. And I'm excited to be joining you now. We've had some good games against Philadelphia so far.
You have. So. You guys are, we've played 2 times, and you guys have beat us once, and we drew last year in Chester, which, by the way, shout out to all the LAFC fans that showed up to Chester. I mean, from start to finish, I mean, those guys would not be quiet, even with the Union taking an early goal lead in that game. It's like, LAFC fans, they believe in their team from start and finish, and I got to believe, not only because LAFC have a good team, but the supporters, I got to feel like, I mean, they filled out that supporter section. I feel like they helped the supporters, help the players get that equalizer against the Union. And so it was a time though, I said it on the podcast before, like, I expected us to lose that game against LAFC last year, but for us to come away with a draw, I mean, it felt like a win and everything. And I'm sure, LAFC, big hot team last season, they probably a little bit disappointed to go in there and get a draw. But, in MLS, it's hard to go away and get a win and everything. So to get a draw in a tough environment that Subaru Park is, I mean, I'm sure LAFC will take that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, like, as you mentioned, we won once, and that was at home, and it tends to be that way. We're a pretty strong team at home, especially with the North End. They're helping out the boys, but 4-1. I'm sorry, I hate to bring that up, but it was 4-1. It was if I'm not mistaken, it was a hat trick by Diamande and a goal by Blessing. And then it was Fafa Picot came in right before the second half, or actually I think it was the beginning of the second half. Scored a goal there, but it was 2-1, and then we brought it to 4-1. And then for the 1-1 tie there in Chester, you're right. I mean, obviously, if it wasn't for Carlos Vela, I don't think we would be the same LAFC. Vela scoring in the first half, bringing it to 1-1 even. As you said, with the fans, it's one of those things that really helps out this club, and I think the North End has kind of built that notoriety now where. We are there from beginning to end. Always sorry about that, but Philadelphia, I think Shabelko scored.
He did. Yeah, he did score.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember. It was super fast, and we were just like, oh no, here we go. And that tends to happen to at least last season to LAFC. It happened a lot where a team knew how to attack LAFC. It was just right from the beginning. We have to score on them, or else it's going to be game over. If LAFC scores first, it's going to be really tough. And we were getting that quite a bit. First 10 minutes or so, team used to score on us. And then somehow we would either get back, at least tie it up. But it was usually pretty tough for LAFC. So, it kind of speaks for itself there. So excited to have you back at our house now. It's one at our house, one at your house. Now we're back.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully, for the Union's sake, this time it ends differently than the first time. Like you said, we lost 4-1. But I would say LAFC, they're probably more fit than most teams in MLS right now, just due to the fact that you guys started preseason early because of your involvement in the CONCACAF Champions League. By the way, congratulations on beating Lyon in the round of 16. But how would you assess LAFC's victory over Inter Miami last week?
So, yeah, that was an interesting one. So, as for those of you that are not too familiar with LAFC, we've had quite a few changes. We had Walker Zimmerman move over to Nashville, and so that was a big hit to our back line, of course. And going into this game against Miami, I don't think that we really knew what to expect. That back line has been having some movement here and there. For example, as you said, we just faced Club Leon. So going into that one, we had Djakovic and Segura down as center backs. And we kind of knew that was going to happen for this coming game against Miami. And sure enough, there was, Djakovic, Segura. We had Blackman on the right and Jordan Harvey actually starting on the left, which was interesting as Diego Palacios started in left back against Leon. So our setup is pretty interesting. We have Kenneth Vermeer. We did lose... we moved on from Tyler Miller, who is now with Minnesota United. And so Kenneth Vermeer coming over from Netherlands was amazing. I think he really solidifies that goalkeeper position. Nothing against, our goalkeeper from last season, which was Cisniega there, Pablo Cisniega. doing a good job as well to cover for Tyler Miller, but it was never very, very solid. And I think that our backline had been solid with Zimmerman. So again, going into this game against Miami, it was a little sketchy. We didn't really know what to expect. But Djokovic and Blackman are stepping it up. So pretty solid there. Our midfield is also a very interesting position because we had a little bit of movement there. Mark Anthony Kaye coming back, Latif Blessing, of course, there. And if you guys have heard of Latif Blessing, he pretty much can play any position that Bob Bradley gives him. And so he was there in the right, in the middle, Janela in the middle, and the Kaye. Again, resting Atuesta for a little bit. Atuesta came in later on in the game, but that was really interesting. And so that right there tells me, with those movements that I just mentioned, it tells me that Bob Bradley is still trying to figure out kind of where we are and what our solid starting 11 is going to be. I think for 2019, you could pretty much easily say who our starting 11 was. And that's not the case in 2020. And that makes it a little bit interesting, not just for us, but also for our opponents, right? For you guys, because you can come in expecting one lineup and, it may end up being completely different. I can say that our bench has filled up pretty well. Our depth is pretty great right now. We have Mohamed Al-Munir, who we can throw up in the back. We have Alejandro Guido, who's finally healthy and playing and actually doing a great job. Again, we have Jose Cifuentes, who's just coming in and also came in against Miami. We have Bryce Duke, a young phenomenon of a player who just turned 19 and is just really, really doing some good stuff, looking solid for such a young player. And of course, in the front, you have Carlos Vela, you have Diego Rossi, and you have Brian Rodriguez. That right there is going to be solid for a while. I don't think there's going to be much movement there in the front because we did have, unfortunately, we have an injury with Dama Diamande, who scored 3 on you guys last time.
Yeah.
He won't be there, so lucky you. And then there's also going to be the addition of Bradley Wright Phillips, who was also hurt, just had underwent some surgery. So he won't be there either. But we do have Vela, we do have Rossi, we do have Rodriguez. So how's that?
Yeah, that is awesome. I mean, that is good insight right there, just right off the back. But I was a little bit surprised by LAFC just over the weekend against Inter because they only scored 1 goal. And seeing how last season you guys outscored opponents 48-20 at home, do you think they'll be able to find the shooting boots against Philadelphia this weekend?
Absolutely. I think that what happened with Miami, again, going back to those positions that are kind of new, and I think these guys are still definitely trying to figure each other out, especially in the middle. So, one game and it's already starting to feel a little bit more like maybe there's a little bit more of a connection between the guys in the front. The middle is the ones that are working on it there, our midfielders. The back is starting to feel a little bit cleaner, a little bit more solid in their work. So that doesn't matter. We need to score some goals. Like you said, it was only 1-0, but if you did watch the game, we had plenty of opportunities. It was not our night as far as it going in the back of the net. Brian Rodriguez is going to have to figure it out because he had a fantastic preseason. He scored a few goals, but he has not been able to do that in the regular season as far as last year. And now in this game against Miami, plenty of opportunities, just unfortunately was not able to put it in the back of the net. So like you said, it's going to be a matter of really, can we take advantage of all the opportunities that we get? Can we put the ball in the back of the net as you're supposed to? Because right now it's looking really difficult for Brian Rodriguez. If Brian Rodriguez shows up, I think we have a very good chance of putting at least a couple on you guys. However, it's tough to say. Yeah, against Miami it was really interesting because again we had a brand new team. You would think that we would just completely destroy them. I think they came prepared to defend. They have a great backline as well. So to their defense, their lineup is fantastic. And if you're looking at that 4 backline for Miami, I mean, they defended pretty well. You have Pau, Torres, Figal, and Sweat in the back for them. I'm very impressed with what Miami has put together. I don't think anybody was expecting them to be that good. Pizarro was, did some good work, but we were also ready for him. So can we do it against you guys? I guess we're going to wait and see, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that you're going to have a similar lineup against us, as you did against FC Dallas? Or is there going to be some movement there?
Yeah, exactly. That was one of the questions and everything. I'll just go ahead and answer that question right here from MVS Union. He asked, do you think Sexy Season, who is Mataj Orvac, our Slovakian center defensive midfielder we signed, 20-year-old, against LAFC, he wants to know, will he start? And I said on the last podcast, I don't think he's going to start. And then we also signed a Venezuelan center defensive midfielder, El Brujo, who's 25 years old. And again, I don't think he's going to start. We're starting the season back-to-back games on the road against two teams that made the playoffs. LAFC were the hottest team last season. So I'm expecting Warren Carval to get the start again in the number 6. He's great defensively. We saw him cover the back line well last week. He's just terrible at the transition. So if you're looking for the counterattack, it's not going to be because of him. And I think Jack Elliott, our English center back, he was on the bench last week, and he started every single minute last year for us. And Jacob Glesnes, another new signing for us, he got to start this week. But I think, Jim Curtin's going to go back to Jack Elliott. We're going to have the same lineup that we had last week with Santos and Kasper Schmeichel up top, with Brendan Aronson, Jamiro Montero, Ali Bedoya, and then Carval in the midfield. And then Kai Wagner is still hurt, our German left back. So, that's a big blow. But Matt Real, our homegrown left back, he looked fine against Dallas last week, but he wasn't going against Carlos Vela, so that's a tough task for any player. So he did well against Michael Barrios last week, but again, Michael Barrios isn't Carlos Vela. We saw Carlos Vela score 34 goals last season, 15 assists, I believe it was. So a lot of teams last season would double team Carlos Vela, and he would still get by them. So it's going to be a tough task for Matt Real. And then the two center backs, like I said, Mark McKenzie and then Jack Elliott, I think is going to come in for Glesnes, with Ray Gaddis on the right and Andre Blake as the goalkeeper. So only one change, I think. And, it's funny that I mentioned to you that you guys were missing your shooting boots, but against Dallas, that's exactly what we were missing, our shooting boots. We have 15 shots and only 3 on target, while we scored no goals. Last season, you guys kept 4 clean sheets at home. Very well be another game that you guys keep a clean sheet against the Union, and that's back-to-back games now for the Union to go scoreless. But on the flip side, like you said, you guys traded away Tyler Miller to Minnesota. You traded away Walker Zimmerman, and then you allowed Steven Beidershour to leave on a free. So you guys have some new players in the back and everything. So, what do you think? Do you think you guys can concede more than 20 goals at home this season, or do you guys think the back line is going to be better?
I do honestly believe, and some people may not agree with me because they haven't really seen anything to really maybe feel comfortable with this statement, but I'm going to go ahead and make it. And I think that, yes, I think that our backline is going to be better. I love Steven Beidershour. I think that was a huge blow to the club. I loved Walker Zimmerman. I think that's huge also back there. But I do think that the youth is going to step it up. And I think that, Bob Bradley and the rest of the team at LAFC knows what they're doing. I think that they're building for the future. I do think that right now, again, we did start a little bit sooner because of CONCACAF champions, but it isn't showing up right now. It's not the cleanest as of yet. Now, if you know anything from LAFC, you know that we are always on the forward foot. We want to attack. We want to get up front. And really, any team that's coming up against us has to play against our style of football. We're not going to change for anybody. Maybe you've seen it a couple of times change, but that was very specific games near the end of the season in 2019. I don't think that our style of football, our football, as Coach Bob Bradley likes to say, our football is not going to change. And so as long as we have those ideas and what we want to do, we're always going to be attack-minded. And the best that Philadelphia Union in this case can do is hope for a fantastic counterattack. Now, that's what you were just, kind of mentioning. And if that defense is not ready for Carlos Vela, which, by the way, nobody's ready for Carlos Vela regardless, he's going to do some magic. He's just the king, and you know that, especially now. And I hate to say it because I think that Josef Martinez is the epitome of, what MLS, and I wish that everybody was as awesome as Josef Martinez. But now I feel like Carlos Vela is for sure, undisputedly, the best in MLS as of right now. So with that being said, I agree with you. I did get to see the FC Dallas against Union game. I do think that Glesnes back there, Jack Elliott should be coming in for him for sure. And you're seeing Real. Now, That's who I want to see go up against Carlos Vela and see if he's going to be able to handle that. Who was FC Dallas? So you said Barrios?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to like picture it and how it's gonna go, but it's so difficult because I do feel that Philadelphia Union is a great team. I've said it before in our podcast that Philadelphia is one of those teams that you don't want to underestimate, where a lot of people tend to underestimate Philadelphia Union, and that's when they end up losing. And so for us, it's gonna be, can you counterattack against us, and can you defend that left foot? Can you make sure that he does not get that ball on his left, which that's a tough task. But everything's possible, As far as can we score some goals on you guys? I mean, Andre Blake saved you from a lot of goals against FC Dallas. I mean, let's just go ahead and say that. Andre Blake is amazing, and he's probably one of the best goalkeepers in the league as well. So if he can do his job, I think you guys will be okay.
Yeah, I mean, like Coach Curtin said in his press conference, I mean, Andre Blake, he made crucial saves, and if you want to get a result on the road, your goalkeeper has to come up big. He came up with 3 saves against Dallas and everything, and we're definitely going to want more of the same. But again, I mean, I just keep replaying the game against LAFC in my head in Chester last season where, the defense was kind of crapping their pants. Every time Carlos Vela came running at them and everything, you would see defenders put 2 guys on him and he would still get by them and everything. But the problem with that is, if Carlos Vela is not scoring, there's going to be somebody open because he's drawing defenders on and everything. And so Carlos Vela has excellent vision and everything. And that's what I'm worried about. The Union might do a good job shutting down Carlos Vela, but he's still going to do damage by picking out a pass where somebody's wide open. They're going to have a shot on goal and everything. And it's up to Andre Blake to either make that save or, it's going to be a save that's just impossible for him to save. And like we keep talking about Carlos Vela, I mean, everybody knows Carlos Vela, but are there any other players Union fans should keep an eye out on? And I do have Brian Rodriguez highlighted because this is his first full season in MLS this season. I see on Twitter and on Reddit, people are like giving Brian Rodriguez crap because you guys paid a high transfer fee for him. He's only 19 years old, and he's already playing for the Uruguayan national team. I think he has like 3 goals for them, but yet the goals aren't coming in MLS. But this is a guy, obviously, who has a lot of talent. And if he didn't have talent, LAFC wouldn't have paid $11 million, I think it was, for him. So,
yeah, absolutely. No, Rodriguez is going to, I feel like as soon as he gets one goal in, he's going to have a breakthrough, and it's going to be, home free for him. I do feel like he's going to be a big goal scorer right up there along with Rossi and Vela. I think he has so much more to contribute. Now, Rodriguez, to be fair, coming from Uruguay, he came from Peñarol. He was not known as a goal scorer in Peñarol. However, he was known as the one that set up the goal scorer. So he was always the guy that was doing the assists. He had, a ton of assists playing for Peñarol. And I think that's kind of his job here as well in a way. He's meant to take away a little bit of that tension from Vela and from Rossi. Now I don't know how good of a job he's doing with that, but he has had a lot of shots and none of them have hit the back of the net, and unfortunately that is where he needs to get better. And I've said it over and over. Joseph and I have had this conversation so many times, and that is that he, not just Rodriguez, but the entire LAFC front 3 need to take better chances, and they also need to complete on the opportunities. They need to actually make something out of the plays, because if you watch our football, it's a beautiful thing to watch, but there's so many opportunities. There's so many times where we just give it straight to the goalkeeper. And I don't know how that happens. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just, I honestly don't even know how to really explain it. And it's really frustrating. I think that's the one thing that has frustrated LAFC for a long, long time. And that is that we have 3 of the best goal scorers in our front line. And for some reason, the 1-0, the 1-1, the 2-1 games are really frustrating because we should be scoring a lot more than that. I think Brian Rodriguez is somebody to look out for. Going back to your initial question, I think Brian Rodriguez is going to be somebody that, again, if he gets 1 in, he's going to get 2, then 3, then 4, and they're just going to start. It's just going to be like a waterfall for him, not just against one team. Hopefully, it's going to be throughout the season. He had, again, a fantastic preseason where he scored in every single preseason game, and he was just, this is one game. That's it. There's one game I feel like the moment that he has that one goal, it's going to be a breakthrough and it's going to be a waterfall for him. It's going to be like the domino effect, right? And more goals will come from Brian. However, keeping in mind that he never really was the goal scorer in Peñarol. And the reason why he's getting all of that, from social media is because we had somebody similar that also was not, did not work out and was not a goal scorer as we were expecting him to be. And that is Andre Horta. And he's no longer with the squad. And so he's being now compared to Brian Rodriguez. And it's like, come on, that's unfair. That is really unfair. So he's one to look out for. Another person that I would say, for those of you that are not too familiar, I think that Atuesta is going to be somebody to watch out for this season as well. I think that he did fantastic in 2019, and I think he's going to do amazing this year as well. And then I also do feel like Janela could potentially be a fantastic midfielder that scores some goals, as well as, I'm going to say, Jose Cifuentes as well. If he gets more and more opportunity to play, these guys are young. They need to earn their spots. Mark Anthony Kaye has been there for a while. Blessing has been there for a while. And so these midfielders coming in, Janela's doing great covering for Eduardo Atuesta, who played just a ton during the Olympic qualifiers for Colombia, hence why he hasn't been playing. So I think once Eduardo Atuesta goes in there, Janela's fighting for that spot. And, and then Bryce Duke, who's really just a fantastic bench player right now, coming off the bench, but I think potentially could be fantastic. But I look at our bench and I look at our entire squad, and I can tell you all of them you need to look out for. But really, realistically, I think Brian Rodriguez is the one that's going to be a standout again as soon as he scores one.
Yeah,
see if it's against Philadelphia.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't matter what player it is. I feel like, you score a professional goal and everything, that offers so much confidence to you and everything. And you feel like you're on top of the world and everything. And, for Brian Rodriguez, hopefully he doesn't score a goal against the Union, but, it's definitely possible and everything. And, I am concerned, Dallas said last week, the diamond, the four in the midfield for the Union, that was tough to break down and everything. And I think that's going to be a little bit tough for LAFC in this game. But, once they break it down, which Dallas did in the second half, making adjustments and everything, LAFC, in my opinion, they're the best team in the league. And I know they didn't win the cup last season, but if you look out of every team in the league, I feel like LAFC put together the best passes, the best team with the ball and everything. And then you add a front three of Rodriguez, Vela, and Rossi, and it doesn't get better than that. And I just, I am very concerned about this game, and I'm not going to be surprised if the Union start 0-2, and, that just goes into the next thing. What is your score prediction for this game? Because I'll tell you right off the back, I think this game is going to be 3-1 LAFC, and I know people are like, oh, who's going to score the goal for the Union? I could see the Union scoring a penalty kick. I just feel like it's going to be a cheap penalty kick. You guys are going to be up 3-0. I don't think the goal is going to come from open play yet, and then Union Twitter's just going to be just crazy and everything, saying Jim Curtin out just like they were last week. They're going to say, Jay Sugarman, spend money, which, Jay, you do need to spend the money. But, it's not the end of the world if the Union do start 0-2. Like I said, Dallas and LAFC, two teams that made the playoffs last season, two very, very good teams in the West, and now they're playing the toughest team in the West, in my opinion, LAFC. So what's your score prediction?
Todd, I don't think I want to give you that, man. I have learned that I jinx myself whenever I give a prediction. I will tell you that I do believe LAFC is going to take it. And I will tell you that I think it's going to be very close to your prediction. How's that? I want to give you something, but I really don't want to, because again, I've done this before enough to where I know it's bad luck for me, at least. And I'm very much one of those people that believes in that sort of thing. So I'm not going to give you an exact number, but I think you're pretty close. I think I would even give LAFC maybe one less. How's that?
There we go. And I don't blame you. You don't want to give a prediction, and then that prediction is completely wrong, and then your listeners come and say, this is all your fault, Jerry. You're the reason they lost and everything, and then you lose all your subscribers and everything. I don't blame you. Just dodge that bullet while you're ahead. So
I'm not too worried about that. It's more like a personal thing. And it's funny because I get asked that all the time. Actually, Joseph as well gets asked all the time on our podcast. And what is your prediction? What do you think what do you think the scoreline is going to be? And we have learned to say nothing. So I apologize to your listeners, but I can tell you that I do think that it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be a good match. I know that for sure. Philadelphia always brings it. I know, obviously, the first game was one of those things that's kind of out of the ordinary, and I think that the fact that Adama Diomande showed up the way that he did that game was the game changer, and so he won't be there this time. So you have that to be excited about. I do think that it's going to be a lot closer than maybe people think, and so yeah, man, I'm excited to watch it. Honestly, I think that the squad over in Philadelphia is really starting to look different. Like you said, the diamond is really interesting with Aronson, Bedoya, Crivell, and Montero over there. So again, I'm excited to see this. I do think Jack Elliott is a better spot rather than coming off the bench. So yeah, man, you're hitting all the spots. As I was watching, recaps, and I try to follow all of MLS. I'm really looking forward to this game coming up here actually on Sunday. Jeez.
Yeah, on Sunday, 10:30 Eastern time, and then 7:30 Pacific Standard Time. Anytime I watch a Pacific Standard Time game, like I remember last season watching the LA Galaxy game, and I woke up and yeah, exactly who, and I woke up and I was like, what in the world's going on in this game and everything? Like I felt like I was dreaming it. But, in the end, the Union did unfortunately lose, and I think it's going to happen again, back-to-back trips to L.A., but this time the different L.A. team. So I think, unfortunately, Union fans, they are going to lose. And, if Jim Curtin does decide to start Orvat or El Brujo, great and everything, but I still don't think they're going to be the difference maker because LAFC, when they're at home, it's tough to beat them. And so I have one more social media question that comes from @O_SilverRay_O. He says, is there any way LAFC leave Vela off the roster to get ready for the CCL match against Cruz Azul on March 12th? Please.
No, I don't think so. I think there's enough of a break there to where I don't think that Carlos Vela is coming off for any reason. However, I have been known to be wrong. So you never know. You can hope and pray to whoever you need to that it would happen. And to be fair, I feel like if you remove Vela, and I'm sorry, all right, I love Philadelphia. All of you guys are amazing people. I took a trip to Philadelphia, so I know how cool you guys all are. So I'm not trying to be mean, but I do feel that even if Carlos Vela was removed, we could still beat you guys. So again, because our bench is just so good, our depth is so good, and so. No, sorry, bud. Sorry to the person that asked that question.
Hey, no apologies. Like I said, they scored 48 goals against conceding 20 goals last season at home. Whether you have Carlos Vela or not, that's still a lot of goals to score. And I should have looked up how many of those goals were Carlos Vela, but I'm sure it wasn't all Carlos Vela. So, and then he asked one more question. So he said, one compared to the Dallas Burn, Kansas City Wizards, New York/New Jersey Metro Stars, and the Chicago Fire, where would you rate LAFC's rebrand from Chivas USA to LAFC?
Oh, that's a good one. So it was technically not a rebrand. It was a complete restart. And I think we did pretty darn good. If you look at the scorelines or not scorelines, but the records for Chivas USA, and now, in the first 2 years, and now you see LAFC, what they have done, I'm pretty sure you can see a gigantic difference. And so, yeah, I know the Chivas USA thing is still around, and I don't expect it to go away anytime soon. However, I think LAFC is doing a really good job of changing the minds of people and making sure that, Chivas USA just gets put to rest already. Please just let it go. The GOATs of Chivas have left and the GOATs of LAFC stay. It's a totally different squad. If you really look at the team over in Carson, they even have more people from Chivas USA nowadays. So, I would say that it was great. It's not a rebrand, but if you really want to call it a rebrand, then I would say it's the best out of that entire list that you guys that you just said right now. Especially the Dallas.
Yeah, and yeah. No, I agree with you, honestly. And the one thing that I am excited about is, you look at Nashville, you look at Inter Miami, both of these teams, had really good teams. It looks like they have good pieces. LAFC, they had good pieces when they first came into the league. And so hopefully that's a sign of good things to come where, once we get Austin and once we get Charlotte, and once we get St. Louis, hopefully they can bring in some good DP players and everything and just have a respectable roster and everything because, not only is that good for the team, but it's good for the league, I feel like. And so, we want to see teams be competitive. I mean, minus Cincinnati last season. I mean, that was just a whole train mess last season. But, it seems like, they finally made up for their mistakes last season and built a pretty decent team. And I know it's still early on and everything, but I will agree with you that LAFC, out of all the teams that he mentioned, is probably the best rebrand. Thank you so much, Jerry, for being on the podcast. But can you let everybody know where to find you guys on social media and where to find your podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're at Heart of LAFC pretty much on all social media. On Instagram, we're on Twitter, pretty active on Twitter, as well as you can check out heartoflafc.com. All of our podcasts are on there, and we have some awesome writings by the amazing Mr. Benjamin Virgen there as well. So yeah, check that out. If you have any questions, if you ever come down to Los Angeles for a game, we are more than happy to host you. The 3252 and everybody around LAFC always welcomes everybody with open arms that doesn't have a Galaxy jersey on. So, that would be you guys, hopefully, that are listening right now. So again, at Heart of LAFC everywhere. Make sure you follow us and say hi, even for a little while. I know you probably don't want to see too much LAFC in your timeline, but happy to be your friend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would just encourage you. I know they're not a Philadelphia Union podcast, but I would encourage, checking out what they're doing on YouTube and everything. I'm a firm believer in supporting other podcasters and everything because, to get this thing rolling and everything, it's pretty hard to do and everything. So, once you build a listeners and everything, these guys are killing it on YouTube. I love seeing, people interacting with them while they're recording their show and everything. I love how you guys have your voicemail set up and everything where people can leave you calls and everything. You guys are doing a tremendous job over there with your podcast and everything, and keep up the great work, Jerry.
Thank you so much, man. It's a pleasure coming on. Hopefully this won't be the last time. Definitely keep us in mind, and best of luck for the rest of the season. I know it's, we're just getting started now, so don't let that one loss, second one coming up, bring you guys down. But you do have a good squad. I'm not just saying that because I'm on the show. So I'm excited. Again, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for your time, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
Awesome. Yeah, it's always great to be appreciated because I feel like the national media, everybody's sleeping on the Union, but hey, we don't mind being underdogs. So I appreciate you coming out here and saying those encouraging words because, Union Twitter, they get down once it's a bad result. So finally, someone that has no ties to the Union comes on and gives some positive thoughts. So again, Jerry, I appreciate that. And you're more than welcome to come on whenever you want. And hopefully, the next time I talk to you, both of our teams can be in the final and we could be previewing the MLS Cup final.
I'll drink to that, man. Cheers.
Yeah, absolutely. But with that said, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.